اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Apologies for the technical glitch on the audio. Hopefully all is working now. So yeah, welcome to the last session of Qur'an Made Easy. Alhamdulillah, we made it this far. Just a reminder on the objective of this series is to really remove the intimidation of Arabic grammar for beginners and to give everyone a taster of what it feels like to do Arabic grammar, with a view to going on a journey to get closer to the Qur'an, to understand the Qur'an, and for it to culminate in our salah, our reading of Qur'an, where we get to experience Allah's words without the filter of translation. So I hope this series has gone some way into meeting that objective. In terms of today, we're going to do a full summary of what we learned so far, of all the concepts that we've learnt. By now, you should be comfortable with the Muslim charts, all four of them: heavy and light, masculine and feminine. And like I said last time, that we could have given you those charts in lesson 1, but we just felt that it's better that you know all the concepts behind that and the function of everything before we give you those charts as something to learn and memorize. And today essentially we did a bottom-up approach. Today we're going to do a top-down approach, in the sense that we're going to start with the Muslim charts and then we're going to move on to all the concepts that we learned so far. So if I share my screen on, start with the charts itself. Okay, this is the Java version. Okay, this is the first chart that we learned, the masculine heavy that we know now. And before I put the animation on, let's just do it by memory. Muslimun, Musliman, Muslimin is rafa' nasab jar 1. Muslimani, Muslimaini, Muslimaini is rafa' nasab jar 2. Muslimuna, Muslimina, Muslimina is rafa' nasab jar 3 or more. And the whole chart is masculine. And it's also heavy. And why is it heavy? Because it has the un and in, or the ani, aini, aini. Let's do the feminine one. We know there's a slight variation. There's the small ta that's added to the singular one. So it's muslimatun, muslimatan, muslimatin. And then that's rafa' nasab jar 1. Muslimatani, muslimataini, muslimataini, rafa' nasab jar 2. What's the ending? Tani, taini, taini. And then muslimatun, muslimatin, muslimatin, rafa' nasab jar 3 or more. And the ending combination for that is atun, atin, atin. Okay, let's just start with that and now move on to our final consolidated notes that we're going to make today. So let's start from the beginning. First of all, one note on memorization versus understanding. Like I said, we could have given you those charts to memorize in the beginning, but you would have learned it without purpose. What we did was we started bottom up and you learned the functions of each concept before you get to memorize the charts. But now that you do know the charts, it's important that you really memorize it, because it really combines the understanding and the memorization together. When that comes together, it becomes like a lethal combination. And that's when things become second nature very quickly. Otherwise, if you understand the concepts without the memorization, you still need to go through some kind of process. But if you put both together, it could really speed things up. So that was just a quick note on that. So let's start right from the beginning. Ism. We learned 3 types of words in Arabic: ism, fi'l, and harf. Harf is a word that makes no sense unless there's another word after it. So words like in, about, upon, to, for, etc. Fi'l is an action word. It's stuck in tense, past, present, or future. And ism is the most comprehensive one, and that's the one we focused on this month. So from now on, all the concepts are in ism. So it's a person, place, thing, idea, adjectives, adverbs, and more. Think of a person, example, Hamza, place, could be a masjid, thing, could be a table, idea, Islam, adjective, long, adverb, quickly, and we have more. Thereafter, what do? We learnt there are 4 components of ism. Status, number, gender, and type. And then within status, we learned there are 3 categories. And you've heard of these a lot in the last few lessons. Rafa, nasab, jar. What is the function of rafa? Is the doer of the sentence. Nasab is the detail, and jar is the after of. And let's use an English example. We use the technique of using English example sentences and then talking about the Arabic. So for example, Hassan ate lunch yesterday at my place. So first of all, the action word is ate. So we'll just put that as a triangle. And the question you need to ask yourself is who's doing the eating? And that's your rafa. So in this case, Hassan is doing the eating. Therefore, Hassan is rafa. And then the details, you need to ask yourself what, when, and where. So what did Hassan eat, you could say? Yeah, lunch. So that's a detail. Nasab. Yesterday, so you could say when did he eat it? That's a nasab. And at my place. So you could also put another way of saying place. My place is place of mine. And so mine would be, or my would be jar, because it's after of. So that's an English way of looking at the rafa and nasab jar, but we're not learning English, we're learning Arabic. So in Arabic, in English, it was to do with the sequence of words that determines where rafa, where the doer and the detail is, rafa and nasab. Whereas in Arabic, it's more to do with the ending sounds in order for you to recognize what rafa, nasab, and jar is. So for rafa, we know it's a un or u. Nasab is an or in, and jar is, an or a, and jar is in or e. And the acronym is RUNA G, because u, a, e. That's the gist of rafa, nasab, jar. And we know that this is a ending sound. Then we added another layer called ending combinations, which is split into pair. And the pair version of rafa, nasab, jar is Ani, Aini for nasab, and Aini for jar. And then the plural is another type of ending combination that has an una, ina, and ina for rafa, nasab, jar. All of that culminates into the Muslim chart, which you have memorized by now. And this should be very familiar with you. But we also learned a process in grammatically analyzing ism words in order to find their status and number. So now there's an overlap with number, because what we're saying is ending combinations equals pair, which means two, or plural, which is three plus three or more. And ending sounds equals singular for now. And then we thought of a process when grammatically analyzing an ism word to try and find the status and number. I gave a rule to say that always look for ending combinations first, which means always look for the pairs and plurals first. Always look for the ani, aini, aini, or una, ina, ina. And if you find that it matches that, then that's your match for whether it's rafa, nasab, or jar. So if I was to say muslimuna, you look for the pair first. So ani, is an ani? No. Is an aini? No, not aini. Is an muslimuna, una ending? So that's your plural. So muslimuna is rafa in status and three or more in number. And it's masculine in type, because this chart we're doing is just masculine for now. And then if it's not an ending combination, then you look for ending sound. And then your ending sound is un, an, in, that's your runaji. But then we added a side note to say that there's an added layer to ending sounds, that it could also be a broken plural. Equals one, or a broken plural. Broken plurals basically mean in English is tooth equals teeth, mouse equals mice, man equals men. These are broken plurals. The regular plurals in English are words with an S added on to the end. But those that are not have an S on the end, we could call it broken plural or irregular plural. In Arabic, you have broken plurals also, and they don't have the regular una, ina, ina ending, or the ani, aini, aini ending. Rather, it's like an ending sound. So the next question is, how do you distinguish between an ending sound singular and an ending sound broken plural? And the answer is you can only do that by meaning. That's the only way. So that's how the process of analyzing the singular or plural or pair for an ism word. And everything that we've looked at right now is just the masculine version chart. Now we then added a feminine version. Feminine Muslim chart. And instead of looking at it as a second chart to learn, it's really just a variation of the masculine chart. In the singular ending sound, rafa' nasab jar, it has something called a ta marbuta, which distinguishes it from the masculine chart. The ta that looks like this, small ta with the two dots there. So instead of muslimun, it's muslimatun, muslimatun, muslimatin. Now for the pair is, so that's ending sound. The pair has dani, daini, daini. That's the ending combination pair. So instead of muslimani, muslimaini, muslimaini, it's muslimatani, muslimataini, muslimataini. And the plural will have atun, atin, atin. That's the ending combination, plural. So that those will have tanweens on at the end. There's a little bit of a disconnect between the plural of the feminine versus the plural of the masculine. Whereas the singular and pair, you can just say there's a small variation of instead of muslimun, muslimatun, instead of muslimatan, instead of musliman, instead of muslimatan, instead of the muslimani pair, it's muslimatani. So instead of muslimaini, it's muslimataini. But the plural is quite a bit different. Instead of muslimuna, it's not muslimatuna, it's muslimatun. So you just have to remember that. Muslimatun, muslimatin, muslimatin. Rafa has an un ending. Nasab and jar have an atin ending. So that's your feminine Muslim chart. And then we learn another concept on top of that, which is the last lesson of heavy versus light. And we learn a rule that all isms are heavy until proven to be light. And what do we mean by heavy? What we learned so far. Muslimun, musliman, muslimin, muslimani, muslimaini, muslimaini, muslimuna, muslimina, muslimina, muslimatun, muslimatan, muslimatin, muslimatani, muslimataini, muslimataini, muslimatun, muslimatin, muslimatin. So any one of those that has a tanween or a noon ending, you can say is heavy. So how does it sound like if you make it light? Well, you get rid of the tanween and you make it a single fatha, dhamma, or kasra, or you get rid of the noon ending. So let's go back to those charts. And then we could, so what we're saying is, instead of, this is the feminine version, instead of muslimatun, it's just muslimatu. Instead of muslimatan, it's just muslimata. Instead of muslimatin, it's just muslimati. And then we're getting rid of the noon endings for the pair and the plural. Well, the plural is the tanween. So for the pairs, we're just getting rid of the noon, noon, noon. What does that leave you with? Muslimata, muslimatai, muslimatai. And then there's a tanween here, so we're getting rid of that, and we're putting the dhamma, getting rid of that, put in the kasra, getting rid of that, put in the kasra. Why is it important to look for ending combinations first? What I forgot to say is because you don't want to mistake that for a jar, whereas it could be a nasab as well. Okay, let's move on. And then if you want to look at the light chart as a finished product, we can look at it like this: Muslimu, Muslima, Muslimi. This is the masculine version. The tanweens are off. What's off on the jewel? The noons are no longer there. So instead of Muslimani, it's Muslima. Then it's Muslimai, Muslimai. Then it's instead of Muslimuna, it's Muslimu, Muslimi, Muslimi. And then the feminine version, we just did Muslimatu, Muslimata, Muslimati, Muslimata, Muslimatai, Muslimatai. muslimatu, muslimati, muslimati. In a nutshell, that's really all of the concepts that we've learned so far. And I hope you saw the reason why we gave you these charts at the end, because it was really useful to learn the function of each concept before we do that. And now that you have learned it, now you should be able to make it second nature. We then applied these concepts to ayat of the Qur'an. So for example, verses like in Surah Al-Ahzab, Innal Muslimina wal Muslimati. There's an added concept of al. So al equals not applicable for heavy or light. Why? Because al's do not have a tanween on, but you can't say that's light, because technically you could still say al-muslimuna, and that still has a noon ending. So whenever you see an al on an ism, there's no application of heavy or light on that. I want to spend the last few minutes just going through some ayat and just applying what we've learnt on a high level. Let's do the Fatiha. Alhamdu. Alhamdu. It's got an al on. We know it's an ism, and it's an u sound. Therefore, it's a rafa in status. Lillahi. Lillahi. What status do you think that is? E sound, the word Allah. Jar. This should become a lot more easier than when we first did it. Rabbi. Rabbi is jar, E sound. Al-alamina. Al-alamina means worlds, so it's a plural, and it's a regular plural. Why? Because we're not just looking at the ending sound. If you look at the ending sound, you're going to say, oh, that's nasab. Whereas that's not necessarily the case. It's an ina ending, therefore it could be nasab or jar. And what I'm saying is, because I know the context, I can tell you it's not actually a nasab, even though what you've learned up until now, you can say it's either nasab or jar, but it's actually a jar. And that's why it's really important to look at the ending combination first. Ar-Rahmani, Ar-Rahimi. Okay, this is a tricky one, because you could say it has an ani ending. However, it's not a pair. One, because of meaning. It means the most merciful and especially kind or merciful. But so by meaning, you can say it's not a pair. And two, you just got to know that Ar-Rahmani, the noon there, is just incorporated in the word in and of itself. Whereas with Muslimani, the noon, the ani ending, is not really part of the Muslim word. It's added on to make it two Muslims. So you can't say two mercifuls on this one. So that's just something that comes through experience. Maliki yawmiddini. Let's look at the ending combinations. There doesn't seem to be any. So therefore, these are jar, E sound, jar, E sound, jar, E sound. Let's look at something other than Fatiha, as we got a few minutes left. Okay, let's look at some heavy and light concepts. We know heavy have tanweens on, and we got a process for that. First of all, look for al. Second of all, look for tanween. And third of all, noon ending. And if it doesn't have any of these, then it's light, because it's heavy until proven light. So let's start with the first one, ayyaman. Does it have an al? Doesn't have an al. So the next question is, does it have a tanween? It does. Has a tanween, so therefore heavy. Ma'dudatin. Tin ending. Tin. Heavy. Because it has a tanween. Let's try another one. Let's look at all the tanweens. Maridan. Heavy. Safarin. Heavy. Idfa'iddatun. Heavy. Ayyamin. Heavy. Let's have a look at something else. Okay, I'm trying to find a light word. You could say, I guess this is a fi'l, but I guess you could still say it's light, but there's a different reason for it to be light versus the ism mode. But it doesn't say tasumuna. It doesn't have an al, so you know it's eligible for heavy and light. It doesn't have a tanween, and there's no noon ending, so you could say that's light. Okay, let's look at this one. Ta'lamuna. That's a fi'l, I guess. Let's look at this one. Khayran. Khayran. Does it have al beginning? No. Does it have a tanween? Yes. So that's heavy. So that's enough practice on heavy and light. So in summary, those 4 Muslim charts really signifies all of the concept. It brings it all together. And that's why I can't stress enough for you to memorize that. And then go look through your notes as well. You've got the lesson handouts that will always be there as a safety net. So feel free to read that. Feel free to watch the videos again if you don't understand any concepts. And then just make your own consolidated notes. A bit like this, you can make it much neater than mine. But if you can do something like this, it just proves that you know it. Couple that with the memorization of the charts, then you've really mastered it, I would say. So I think we'll leave it there. I just got a few things to say about Quranic structured learning, QSL in general. Let me just bring the slide back up. Okay, so QSL, it's a non-profit organization dedicated to teaching Quranic studies. We provide structured courses as well as other free lectures and material. There's a Sisters Arabic Grammar structured learning in the mornings, and that's aimed at understanding the Qur'an and starts from the very basics. It's really good for beginners and it's once a week. Then we've got the Brothers Arabic Grammar starting for the first time, I believe. And so that's a new exciting course for brothers once a week in the evenings. That's also suitable for beginners. We then have a Sisters Tajweed regular and intensive. There's regular classes which incorporate both theory and application of rules learnt. We also have an intensive course for those who have studied Tajweed before and would like a refresher course. We also have Jazariya course for those that wish to study this text in detail. Then we have a Sisters Tafsir course in the evenings and daytime. There's a new daytime course to start with the Tafsir of Juz Amma. The evening course has completed the Juz Amma and will continue on to Juz Tabarak next year, inshallah. All courses start from August all the way through to May and June. And for more information, if you could apply on the website given there, www.qsl.org.uk. If there's any queries or so, I'm sure there's a contact information on the website. Please get in touch. And so we'll leave it here. I hope you've enjoyed the course as much as I've enjoyed teaching it. Any mistakes that I've made are from myself and Shaitan. Anything beneficial that I've said is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قولي قولي هذا بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن الحكيم ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.